Chapter 1. Prologue. Hello, it's me, Rimuru Tempest, the Demon Lord Slime, who is well known for world dominance, and at the moment I am in the biggest boredom of my life. It has been several years since the final battle against Yuki. This battle was quite difficult, and it took a long time to repair all the damage, but after a while, the world was stabilized, and now everyone can live in peace. What do I think about this? It is boring. My subordinates take care of everything for me, and I have nothing to do. Our civilization is not that evolved, so it's not like I can play video games or anything. The only way I am entertained is when I am with a certain person. Today I decided to do something to escape this boredom. I then talked with my friend Seal, who is the smartest person I know. Seal then suggested something to me. I gathered all my executives and important friends in the boardroom. Everyone was sitting at a large table, and I stood up to speak. Okay, I'm going to be reincarnated in another world. I declared it as if it were something normal, obvious, just as I thought it caused. Ha! Everyone gave dumbfounded expressions and let out confused groans. Their reaction was normal since I hadn't said anything about it before. Rimuru-sama, what do you mean? Bigard came forward and asked me. The others also seemed to want to know. Exactly as I said before, I've been bored, and these last few years I've been wanting a more lively life. Don't worry, I will come back in a maximum of 100 years and leave everything here with you. I will also leave contact methods in case of emergencies. I talked to Seal and was told that since I am a higher level spirit form, I don't need a body or anything like that, so I will reincarnate in my old world. So I can reincarnate by transferring myself into a human body. I explained, and everyone had thoughtful faces. Some of them looked like they didn't want that, but no one seemed to want to stop me. That was the tip Seal gave me to get out of my boredom. I don't know in which universe I will be reincarnated because I left everything to Seal, but since I trust him, I think it will be a great life. Shion and Diablo came closer and bowed deeply. Rimuru-sama, allow us to go together. They spoke, and I rejected it on the spot. I didn't want them doing everything for me in the other world. That was because I would probably get bored again. No, this is something I want to do alone. Besides, I need you guys to take care of things here. They looked reluctant but did not object to my words. They raised their heads and returned to their seats. The others also seemed to want to go along with me, but said nothing. I then continued to speak. Okay, then, I'll say goodbye to the people and go tomorrow. I will leave an unwilling clone that you can control so that my trip doesn't become public. The meeting is adjourned. I would leave a clone so as not to make anything public. If the most powerful demon lord of them all wasn't around, several rebellions could happen, and that would be problematic. I would leave a clone so as not to make anything public. If the most powerful demon lord of them all wasn't around, several rebellions could happen, and that would be problematic. I said goodbye to several people important to me and people who needed to know. The rest I left with my subordinates, and I have extreme confidence in them. By the way, when I told my friend Valdora about my trip, his reaction was, "Kuhaha, don't worry, as long as I'm here, nothing will happen." That kind of sentence was typical of him, so I just smiled and agreed. Producing a new body, age 1 day, gender. Not existing. Wait, Seal-san, it's going to be weird that I'm a genderless human, make me a male body. A day later, I said goodbye and then started to reincarnate. I won't explain this process to you because when Seal explained it to me, even I didn't understand, so I just said, reincarnate me into a fun life, and the process started. Producing a new body, age 1 day, gender. Not existing. Wait, Seal-san, it's going to be weird that I'm a genderless human, make me a male body. Seal-san. Seal-san. Okay. These times I've been thinking that Seal looked like one of the girls close to me, but there's no way my ability is in love with me, right? Right. Algorithmically blushing. I thought Seal was acting weird, but it must be my imagination. Seal then continued the process. Okay, male body formed, baby size, world, land, country of origin, Japan, parents' names, Nagumo Shuru and Nagumo Sumair. Okay, it looks like a normal family. Then I wonder why Seal-san said it would be a fun life. Actually, don't tell, I don't want spoilers of my life. Okay. Rimuru told Seal not to tell him too much about things, or life would lose its fun. Seal, as always, followed his orders and did not object. Body-ready reincarnation started. When I opened my eyes, I saw a hospital room. I was expecting this since I was going to be reincarnated as a baby. The strange thing was that I heard a baby that was not me crying. I didn't even have time to look around as I felt it pat me on the back. Would that be the time I cry? I thought and started to act out a cry. Buya, buya, buya. I made the best fake cry I could so they wouldn't think I was a weird baby. Meanwhile, I heard my new parents talking. Honey, it's 2 boys, just like I said it would be. Since I got it right, they will be the names I chose, okay. Do you want to hold them? Yes. As I suspected, the other cry was from my twin brother. My parents seem to have gambled with our birth, which makes me realize that this family may not be as normal as I thought. I was still staging the cry when the doctor placed me in my mother's arms. I looked at her, analyzing her appearance. Hi, you'll be called Rimuru from now on. You so beautiful, so cute, and those beautiful eyes golden. My brother's name is Hajime, and mine is Rimuru. Seal must have done something for my name to be the same, probably some kind of mental induction. I decided to keep the same appearance, so my mother was quite surprised by my golden eyes. She will probably freak out when my blue hair starts to grow. I hope they don't think I am some kind of alien baby. And so my new life began. Chapter 2. Invocation. Monday. The worst day of the week. Many people sighed at the thought of that day, and this young man was no exception. Nagumo Hajime was an ordinary young man who hated school as a dark place that let him down. Trigun. As always, when the bell rang, he crept into the classroom, opened the door, and walked in. At that moment, several students clicked their tongues and looked at him with contempt. The female students didn't show any friendly expressions either. Hajime tried to ignore them and sat down in his seat, but as usual, there was a nosy chatter behind him. Oi Taku, disgusting. You played all night again. Were those erotic games? You, so gross. Erotic games all night, shame on you. Is it really that funny to laugh? Hajime thought angrily. The first to ridicule Hajime was Yamadasic. He was the first to pick on Hajime every day, as if he were paid for it, and the other idiots next to him were Sato Yoshiki, Kondo Raichi, and Nakano Shinji. They were that group of bullies that you see in any movie or manga. This gang was the one that offended him the most. Hajime was indeed an otaku, but neither his appearance nor his attitude were disgusting or horrible. With short hair and normal, well-groomed student clothes, it was an average appearance. People offended him out of hatred. Why did all the classes hate him? The reason is simple. She. Good morning Nagumo-kun, late as usual. You should come early. A female student smiled happily as she approached Hajime. Everyone who hated Hajime hated her because of this girl. Kaori Shirsaki was one of the most beautiful and perfect girls in the school, always kind and treating everyone well. Always with a smile on her face and a great sense of responsibility, she took care of other people and was very mature for a high school girl. Kaori Shirsaki was one of the most beautiful and perfect girls in the school, always kind and treating everyone well. Always with a smile on her face and a great sense of responsibility, she took care of other people and was very mature for a high school girl. She was considered a goddess by the boys at school, but to Hajime, she was the devil himself. She talked more with Hajime than with the other students, which implied that she was interested in him. Hajime didn't think so. There was no reason for the perfect schoolgirl to like him. Hajime had average looks and grades, was not popular, and was known as an otaku, which made all the students feel envious and think, why this guy? The students just thought that Kaori was wasting her time with him and could get someone better. That's why they didn't cast any positive glances at Hajime either. Good morning, Shirsaki-san. Where did that murderous intent come from? Hajime could only smile falsely as everyone looked at him with contempt. After hearing his good morning, Kaori showed a happy expression. Why are you so happy? Hajime wanted to ask, but that would cause the student's assassin intent to double. Even Hajime didn't know why Kaori cared so much about him. Not least because Kaori was always surrounded by kittens, and there was no way she could be interested in him. Then, lucky for Hajime, 3 more people arrived who would only make the situation worse. Good morning Nagumo-kun. Isn't it hard to deal with this every day? Kaori taking care of him again. Really, Kaori is very kind. This guy is useless, no matter what you tell him. The girl who greeted him was Shizuku Yugashi. A beautiful girl who wore a long ponytail that was her trademark. She was another of the school goddesses. She was considered an elegant girl. Her posture and behavior were associated with the samurai, and her family had a kendo dojo in which she participated. Many girls idolized her and called her Wani-sama. Shizuku even had a fan club. Shizuku was one of the only people in the room who didn't hate Hajime. She was Kaori's best friend, unlike Kaori, who was an airhead. Shizuku understood what Hajime was going through and was trying to help. Next to her, who spoke with an arrogant tone, was Amanagawa Kauki. Excellent grades, a superman who was great at sports, kind to everyone, and had a strong sense of justice. He got angry easily. He was a national-level Yugashi dojo athlete, as was his childhood friend Shizuku. Several girls fall in love with him, but many don't confess because he is always with Kaori and Shizuku. The other one who mocks Hajime is Sakagami Raiter. Best friend of Kauki, he was part of the karate dojo, and was very muscular and not that smart, which caused many to classify him as a muscle brain. Good morning, Yugashi-san, Sakagami-kun, Amanagawa-kun. As they say, you reap what you plant, there is no way. Hajime spoke up and gave a wry smile. Who gave you the right to talk to Yugashi-san? I'll kill you. Was the feeling Hajime got from the classroom. Kauki warned Hajime not to take advantage of Kaori's kindness. Hajime really didn't want Kaori's kindness, but Hajime couldn't argue with Kauki, because it would piss off his fans, and also because Kauki was too short-tempered. Kauki-kun, what are you saying? I was just talking to Nagumo-kun. Sigh. Seriously, Kaori is too kind. The classroom was bursting with assassin intent directed at just one person, and then the door opened to enter another source of trouble. You, Hajime-kun and staff, sorry I'm late. Nagumo Rimuru is Hajime's twin brother. He had long blue hair, golden eyes, and a beautiful appearance, but his appearance was also a bit androgynous, which made many students think that he was also one of the school goddesses. He was intelligent, handsome, and great at sports. He was the only person in the dojo Yugashi who had beaten Shizuku several times. He was the kind of person who made others say to Hajime, "Why aren't you more like your brother?" Hajime didn't hate his brother though, because his brother doesn't like it when they say that phrase either. He is also an otaku like Hajime, and they played a lot of games together. Even though he is popular, he doesn't get along well with Kauki, which makes some people dislike him. Hajime didn't even have to ask why Rimuru didn't like Kauki because he already knew. Kauki was really annoying. One thing that always confused Hajime was Rimuru's blue hair and golden eyes. Hajime had never heard of another person who had that hair color and all natural eyes. Hajime once asked his mother if Rimuru's hair was ever examined by a doctor, but she replied, "Of course not. If we do that, the government will come and take Rimuru away. Then the scientists will do various experiments on him." Hajime thought that was an exaggeration, but that wasn't such a big deal. The other day, Hajime asked his brother if he knew anything about it, and he denied it. Rimuru once told the class that he was also an otaku, but no one believed him. They thought he said it just to improve Hajime's reputation. It was as if he were saying, popular people can also be otakus. A lot of the murderous intent dispersed, and many people who were looking at me looked away. This was due to an incident that happened a while ago when Hajime was suffering a daily beating from Hiyama's gang. Rimuru interrupted and asked them to leave gently, but Kano said something like, "Get out of here or we'll beat you up too." His gentle smile turned into an expressionless stare, as if he were looking at an insect, so he hit the 4 bullies and didn't get a scratch. That incident happened on the way out of school. So many people saw it, and so the class was a little afraid of him. After that day, Hajime asked him not to interfere anymore because it would make things worse, with people saying things like, "He's a coward who needs his brother to protect himself." Then Rimuru sat back in his seat, stretched out in his chair, and let out a bomb. "Wow, those two are flirting again." He spoke in a natural tone, and Hajime thought, "You couldn't have kept quiet." That's because when Rimuru uttered these words, the temperature in the room dropped, and the envious glances increased by a lot. Shizuku laughed at the statement. She and Rimuru were quite good friends, as Rimuru had been part of her dojo since she was a child. Kaori was also good friends with Rimuru, and upon hearing his words, "Oh, what are you talking about, Rimuru-kun? I was just talking to Nagumo-kun." She looked at Hajime and blushed, then looked away and returned to her seat. Hajime could hear several tongues click in disgust. By the way, he and Kaori were not that close. The reason she called him by his first name was because Hajime and Rimuru were in the same class, so if someone called him Nagumo, it could be confusing, so he asked everyone to call him Rimuru. The school bell rang, and the teacher came in. Maybe she was used to the atmosphere in the classroom and didn't say anything. She then started a roll call. Then the class started, and Hajime slept on the desk. Meanwhile, Kaori smiled upon seeing this scene, and most of the students looked at him with disgust. Hajime woke up at break time and grabbed his lunchbox. He looked around and noticed that several students had gone to the cafeteria to buy snacks. So there were only 23 students in the room and teacher had a Maiko. Swallow. Hajime impressively finished his lunch in 10 seconds, then our goddess, Kaori, sat down beside Hajime with a smile on her face. "This is terrible," Hajime thought. "Nagumo-kun, why don't you come and have your snack with us?" A dangerous aura spread through the room once more. Hajime groaned in his mind. He didn't understand Kaori's intentions, he just knew that this would not end well. "Ah, thanks for the invitation, Shirosaki-san, but I'm done eating. Why don't you join Imanagawa and the others?" However, the goddess, who couldn't read the mood, wouldn't give up so easily. "Eh? Was that all your snack? You have to eat more. Here, take this, I'll share some of mine with you." The chill in Hajime's spine only got worse, and then more trouble arrived. "Kaori, let's eat together. I would allow someone like Nagumo to be your delicious homemade food." How can he say that with a smile? Hajime thought. "Eh? Why do I need your permission?" PFFT. Rimuru and Shizuku tried to control their laughter but failed miserably. That's because Kaori said it because she really didn't understand, but what she said was that the most popular students in this school were around Hajime's table, and the stares were getting worse and worse. Hajime sighed and thought, "Please someone take them away from here." Hajime was about to run away, but before he could, he stopped. Not everyone stopped and stared in amazement at the magic circle at our feet. Rimuru was surprised by the magic circle at his feet and used his thought acceleration ability. Magic is unidentified, but by language standards, it says summoning. So we are being summoned to another world, and what do you mean by unknown magic? Aren't you supposed to be the crazy one for analysis who knows everything about magic? Seal seemed a bit offended by Rimuru's words. Rimuru apologized and rephrased the question. Why don't you understand this magic? This magic pattern is unlike that of any other world we have ever visited. I can't understand it well until I do some tests. I see, a new world Haine could be fun. Eh? Wait, Seal-san, did you know that this would happen to this group, and that is why you reincarnated me in this life? No, it's not possible, not even you could foresee it that far, right? This silence scared me a little, but let's forget about it. The problem is that I am dealing with unknown magic. I could probably escape this circle in time, but I don't know if I would be able to find my colleagues later, so I think the best action to take is to let myself be carried away. Agreed. The Seal-san agrees, then let's go. Rimuru deactivated the thought acceleration, and the magic circle glowed stronger. After that, all the students disappeared from the classroom. Chapter 3. Tortus. Hajime closed his eyes because of the strong light from the bright circle, and when he opened them, the first thing he saw was a 10-meter mural. On this mural, there was a blond man with a halo on his back. When Hajime looked around, he saw that he was in a very well-designed marble hall. He looked at his classmates and saw that Kaori and her brother were fine. He was relieved, and everyone began to assess their surroundings. Besides his colleagues, there were 30 people kneeling before them. These 30 people wore white clothes with faint blue details. The person who was closest had the most prominent clothing and clothes reminiscent of a priest. He had a staff in his right hand. This man approached and spoke. Welcome to Tortus, Hiro-sama, and his companions. I am Ishtar, Pope of the Church of the Eth. Let us get along well from now on. This man appeared to be 50 years old, and spoke in a solemn and respectful voice, while showing a gentle smile. Rimuru was the only one who was not confused. In his world, there were summoning rituals that required 30 mages or one powerful person to perform them. But by the looks of it, these didn't seem like bad people, as they introduced themselves politely, and didn't attempt an enslaving curse like the summoners in Rimuru's world did. Obviously, there was a chance that they just didn't have knowledge of this magic. All the students were taken to a very luxurious room with a long table that had seating for all of them. Aiko and Kaki's group sat at the end of the table, as close as possible to Pope Ishtar. Hajime sat in the last seat, with Rimuru beside him. Then the doors at the back of the room opened, and beautiful maids came out and served water to the students. The pubescent boys stared at them with desire. Real maids who looked like they were straight out of a movie, stirred their teenage desires. Meanwhile, the girls cast them cold glances. Hajime looked at the pretty maid who served him, but then he felt a chill run down his spine from the smile Kaori was giving him and stopped staring. Rimuru wouldn't fall into traps like that, not least because in his world he was used to being served by various beauties, but more importantly, he had a bride in the other world with whom he kept in touch regularly. Eh? You want to know who the bride is? We'll talk about that later. Well, I think some will already know. After this, Ishtar spoke in a voice that everyone could hear. So I know you are confused, so let me explain. What Ishtar explained to them was basically this. This world had 3 races. Demons, humans and demi-humans. These races lived separately and always clashed. The humans were outnumbered, the demons were stronger, and the demi-humans were unbeatable in their territory because of their natural abilities. The demons and humans were always at war, but none of them attacked because their strengths were balanced by numbers and strength. Magical beasts were animals that acquired magical power. They varied in power, but having them on your side would be a great advantage in war. So with the magical beasts on their side, the demons now broke the numerical advantage of the humans, and could attack at any time. That's why Etsama summoned you to take part in the war to save humanity from the evil demons. Because you come from another world and have passed through the barrier separating the worlds, you are much more powerful than the people of this world. You are our salvation. Apparently the person who told them that this was Etsama's wish was an oraculum who could contact God. Hajime and Rimuru were suspicious of this will of God, and thought that Ishtar was distorting the world for her own convenience. Rimuru even thought that it might have been Ishtar and the church that summoned them to this world, and were just using the will of God as an excuse, but Seal said that Ishtar didn't tell any lies. However, that doesn't mean that everything he said was true. These could be the things that Ishtar believed, but were not necessarily the reality. Teacher Aiko spoke after that. Please, no jokes, these children will not fight a war. I absolutely will not allow it. Send us back. This is kidnapping, you know. Aiko was furious. She was a novice teacher and only 25 years old, but she was very responsible and, on many occasions, protected her students. She was furious at the unreasonable invocation and requests, but Ishtar's words made her sit up in her chair. Unfortunately, we have no way to send all of you back to your own world. Everyone froze, including Rimuru. Normally he would be calm as he could transition between universes freely, but when he thought about it, Seal spoke. Unfortunately, I can't send us back. What? The magic that brought us to this universe is different from the magic I am used to, and there is also the factor that this universe is not connected to the other universes we have been to. The space-time laws here are different. I don't know what method was used for this invocation, but if there is a way back to our universe, it will probably be with magic from this world. Do you have any method of contacting the people there, at least? At the moment, the only possible thing would be to copy the magic circle seen earlier, and try to summon a person from the Master's universe. But if I'm given enough time, I can analyze this universe, and find a way to communicate with ours. Then I'll leave it to you, Seal. You can count on me, Master. Rimuru was thoughtful at Seal's words, but back to the present, the students were. What do you mean they can't send us back? Huh. If you can summon us, you can send us back, right? To those questions, Ishtar answered. As I said, it was Etsama who summoned you. We have no method of sending you all back to your own world. That's... Aiko murmured before diving into her thoughts, searching for a solution. She cared deeply for her students, and didn't know what to do if they couldn't return to their families. Meanwhile, the students were panicking and refusing to take part in a war. Ishtar was looking at them with a calm gaze, but in that gaze, some noticed contempt. He must have been thinking, it is natural to feel honored to serve God. At that moment, Kaki banged his fist on the table and stood up, silencing the students and causing them to look at him. All of you, there's no reason to make such a mess in front of Ishtar-sen. He hasn't done anything to us. I will fight. If the humans need help, I cannot deny their request. If God summoned us to save the humans, he should send us back after saving them. What do you think of that, Ishtar-sen? Right, I had Sama will fulfill the request of his saviors. Kaki spoke words full of justice, but he didn't realize how naive his words were. Ishtar seemed happy with his agreement. Right then, I will use this new power to fight and save the world, you will see. Kaki said confidently. I thought you were going to say something like that. If you go alone, it will be dangerous. I'm going to fight too. We have no other choice. Even if I don't like it, I'll fight too. Shizuku. There. If Shizuku-chan is going, I'm going too. Kaori. And so with the most popular students in the class deciding this in this display of charisma, the other students agreed as well. Are they idiot? They do know what war is, don't they? Rimuru thought. He looked at his brother, who had his hand on his forehead and was looking down. Rimuru could understand what Hajime was thinking. It was, what are these idiots talking about? Aiko tried to convince them not to go to war, but was unsuccessful. After the students decided to participate in the war, they needed combat and magic training, or it wouldn't be impossible for them to face magical beasts and demons all of a sudden. They also found out that the kingdom they were in was the Harai kingdom, which had a great relationship with the church, as it was rumored that the founder of the kingdom was a descendant of the godette. Before the training, they were going to the Mountain of God, which is the highest mountain in the world, similar in height to Everest. They passed through a magic portal that took them there in a second. Seeing magic for the first time amazed them. On top of God's mountain, you could see the entire capital of the Harai kingdom. It had a castle that stood out in the middle of the city. Another highlight goes to the several churches that could be seen. This country reminded Hajime of pre-war Japan, in the days when religion and politics went hand in hand. It was horrible. After visiting the kingdom, they went to the palace to introduce themselves to the royal family. There they passed several people who worked in the castle, knights, chambermaids, etc., all of whom looked at them with respectful eyes as if to say, "You are the apostles of God," which made them very uncomfortable. In the throne room, there was a middle-aged man sitting on the throne and a woman of similar age beside him. These were King Eric and Queen Luluaria. The king and queen treated them super respectfully because they were apostles of God, and it made them super uncomfortable. In the throne room, there was a middle-aged man sitting on the throne and a woman of similar age beside him. These were King Eric and Queen Luluaria. The king and queen treated them super respectfully because they were apostles of God, and it made them super uncomfortable. In the throne room, there was a middle-aged man sitting on the throne and a woman of similar age beside him. These were King Eric and Queen Luluaria. The king and queen treated them super respectfully because they were apostles of God, and it made them super uncomfortable. Behind the thrones were Prince Randall, a young blonde boy of 10, and Princess Liliana, a beautiful young girl of 15, with hair the same color as her brother. Liliana chatted with them quite a bit, but Randall chatted only with Kaori. In fact, he seemed more like he was wooing her. It seemed that Kaori's charm worked even in this world. The students kept casting envious glances at Randall, but Hajime thought they were exaggerating. There was no way Kaori could fall in love with a 10-year-old boy. Some of the students, like Rimuru, Hajime, and Shizuku, noticed that the king was very respectful to Pope Ishtar, showing once again the influence of the church in the kingdom. Then they had a delicious meal that was very similar to Western foods on Earth. When they finished the meal, they were taken to their rooms. They were once again uncomfortable, as their rooms were very luxurious, but the people of the kingdom insisted on these rooms. So the students who had had enough surprises for one day lay down on their fancy beds and fell asleep. Chapter 4. Status. Currently, all the students are at the training camp. They woke up early, had breakfast, and were introduced to the head knight, Meld Loggins, who would be training them from now on. Meld handed each of the students a transparent plate measuring 127 centimeters. The head knight began his explanation. Okay, everyone received one of these plaques. It's called a status card. It is the most reliable of the identity cards. As long as you have one, you will not be in danger, even if you get lost. Any questions? Seeing that everyone understood, he continued. We'll be buddies from now on, so you don't need to use honorifics with me or with the other knights. This was a good thing for the students. They didn't like to be treated too politely, and Meld seemed to have realized this. Spill a drop of blood in the magic circle next to the plaque, and then you will be registered as the owner of the plaque. And once the words show status are spoken, you will be able to see your own status. That is the power of one of the divine artifacts. Kaki asked about the unfamiliar words, and the other students also had confused expressions. They are powerful tools that cannot be recreated by modern means. Legends say they were created by God during the ancient era. The status plate is the only one that can be recreated. Which is great because it is a great ID card that we distribute to the general public. The students nodded, showing that they understood, and then made ugly faces when their fingers were pierced by needles. Hajime did the same, and when the magic circle glowed, it showed the statuses. Name: Nagumo Hajime. Age: 17 years old. Class: Synergist. Blessings: Crest of the Storm. Level: 1. Strength: 10. Vitality: 10. Stamina: 10. Agility: 10. Magic Power: 10. Magic Resistance: 10. Abilities: Transmutation, Language Comprehension. The students were thinking, it looks like a video game, as they analyzed their statuses. The students were thinking, it looks like a video game, as they analyzed their statuses. I will explain your statuses. First, the level will increase when your other statuses increase. The maximum level is 100 for humans, but no one who has ever reached this level can think of it as a means to judge a person's potential. Training will naturally increase your status, and artifacts will also increase it. You will have access to the artifacts later. For now, let's train to increase your status. Apparently the level increased when your other statuses increased, and not the other way around, as in the video games. Mel continued talking. Next to class, it is intertwined with ability. Some classes can be unmatched, and others are not so much. There are also some classes that are rare and some that are common. Then he asked the students to show their status. That's bad, Rimuru thought. He looked at the statuses, and he realized that his was extremely above average, meaning that this artifact could measure his real strength. Seal-san, can you fake my statuses? You don't want to stop time, then? Rimuru found it strange that Seal said he needed more time and made a suggestion, but Seal answered him. Warning is not possible. What? What do you mean it's not possible? The time flow of this universe is different from the time flow of our universe, and so are the space-time laws. Therefore, the space-time ability of Void God as it is unusable. So I can't teleport to. Correct. That's bad. Hey, wait, that time we were being summoned, why didn't you go back in time? At that moment, the master's body was already in contact with the time stream of this universe. Really? Yes. Then why the delay in answering? She took her time again. Seal-san, you're not making this up just to not say you wanted to come on an adventure in another universe, are you? Of course not. Rimuru was almost sure he was being tricked, but he knew Seal wouldn't do anything to hurt him, so he just let it go. Okay, let's ignore it and get to the more pressing problem: my statuses. Analysis completed, starting forgery. Completed. Rimuru turned off the thought acceleration and listened to Mel continue his explanation. Normal people at level 1 have their statuses around 10 points, but you must have much higher numbers. How my statuses are all 10 points? Aren't we supposed to be cheated? Hajime thought, but when he looked around, he saw everyone talking and bragging about their statuses. Is it just me? Hajime lamented internally. After that, the first to present his status card was Kauki. Name: Amanagawa Kauki. Age: 17 years old. Class: Hero. Level 1. Strength 100. Vitality 100. Stamina 100. Agility 100. Magic Power 100. Magic Resistance 100. Abilities: Aptitude for all elements. Resistance to all elements. Fencing. Physical resistance. Teleportation. Herculean strength. High-speed magical recovery. Presence detection. Magic detection. Overcome threshold. Language comprehension. That's the definition of cheating. How? A real hero. Level 1, which already has 3 digits, also comes with a scarcity of skills. It sounds very reliable. After those words, Kauki scratched his head shyly. By the way, the commander's level was 62, and his status was around 300. However, Kauki was only level 1, and had 1/3 of his strength. Kauki was really special. Mel was all smiles looking at the student statuses, and then when Hajime brought him his status board, Mel gave a confused groan, and then he slapped the status board a few times. Maybe he thought it was defective. After realizing that the plate wasn't broken, Mel said, as I should say, a synergist represents a crafting professionaire, plus it's very convenient for forging weapons and armor. Of course, the manga bullies were not going to miss this opportunity. As he laughed falsely, Hayama shouted. Hey Nagumo, did you take a non-combatant class? How's a craftsman going to fight? Meld-san, is that class rare? Well, no, all the craftsmen in the kingdom have this class. Hey, how are you going to fight like that, Nagumo? Meld replied, and Hayama seemed to have enjoyed having another opportunity to mock Hajime. Hajime gave a wry smile and said, how will I know if I don't try? Oh? Let's see your statuses then. Hayama's gang joined him. They were the kind of lowlifes who preyed on the weak. If you looked around, you would see many people with disgruntled expressions. Pyahahaha. What's this? It's completely standard. Hahaha, he must be weaker than a child. Kaori angrily approached the students who were mocking Hajime, but before she could reach them, another person arrived angrily. Aiko. What are you laughing at? I won't let you continue this. Give back Nagumo-kun's status plate. They reluctantly handed over the status plate. Aiko then tried to cheer Hajime up. Nagumo-kun, look, don't worry, I'm also a non-combatant. You don't have to worry about being the only one in this situation. She showed the status board. Name. Hadeyama Aiko. Age. 25 years old. Class. Farmer. Level 1. Strength 5. Vitality 10. Stamina 10. Agility. 5. Magic power. 100. Magic resistance. 10. Abilities. Soil management. Ground restoration. Long range restoration. Plant evaluation. Fertilizer creation. Self-harvesting. Fertilizing operation. Farm improvement. Language comprehension. Hajime stared at the sign without saying anything. Nagumo, what's the matter? It's true that a class was non-combatant, but her magic was as strong as Kauki's, and she had several abilities. So even though she was a non-combatant, she was still much stronger than Hajime, but Aiko was confused by Hajime's reaction. That was the final blow, sensei. Anyway, that made Hajime's confidence drop, but not as much as the next event. HMPH. Captain Mel pretended to cough to attract attention. Glances were directed at him and... So someone else is missing. You, with the blue hair in the back, can't come. You're all that's missing. Rimuru seemed reluctant to hand over the plate, but he handed it over anyway. Hajime noticed that he was secretly looking at him. Glib. Meld swallowed dryly. He was staring perplexed at the status plate while doing the same thing he did with Hajime's, tapping it and putting it in the light to see it better. When they saw Meld's reaction, the students thought, will the two brothers be useless? But Meld's reaction was not for that. In fact, it was quite the opposite, because... Name. Nagumo Rimuru. Age. 17. Class. Chaos Creator. Blessings. Crest of the Storm. Level 1. Strength 600. Vitality 600. Resistance 600. Agility. 1200. Magic power. 1500. Magic resistance. 1500. Abilities. Information King Akashic Records. Void God Azteth. Harvest. Lord Shub Nigurath. Lord of the Storms. Bildor. Locked. Lord of Valuriel. Wrathful King Satinal. And... So I add Rimuru's primary ultimate skill, but take note that this is not all his ultimate skill, since some of them are hidden, like Creation Lord Asura Mazda. Monomaterialization. Manipulation of all elements. Quarter nullification. Magic circle nullification. Fencing, maximum level. Resistance to poisons. Resistance to magic attacks. Resistance to physical attacks. Resistance to spiritual attacks. Limited release. Balance breaker. That was the plate that Seal rated for Rimuru. Seal didn't have as much time, so the plate was still well above average. Well, that's... Meld-san, what happened? Meld-san, are you okay? Meld was in a cold sweat and didn't move a muscle. His reaction was normal, since this boy in front of him was the strongest person in the kingdom. Not only that, but he was at level 1, so he could become extremely powerful. What concerned him is that some of his abilities had a unique name, and there's also a blessing on the two brothers. It's my first time seeing a status board with a blessing category. Meld said to himself. The students were worried when they saw Meld with a white face and questioned him. Seeing people like this, Meld pulled himself together and said, No, I'm fine. I just thought I couldn't be surprised anymore after the hero, but that boy is really strong. Meld pointed to Rimuru, who whistled and looked up at the sky as if to say, I don't know anything. Shizuku spied Rimuru's status plate and let out a surprised groan. Wow, Rimuru-kun is really strong. Isn't this status a complete op? Said by Kaori. After that, everyone was so curious to see the status plate that had caused these reactions, that they forgot about Hajime's statuses.